You're listening to the Wanderlust Swingers podcast with Aussie hosts Kate and Daryl. If you're curious about exploring your sexuality or the swinging, hotwifing and non-monogamous lifestyle, you've definitely come to the right podcast. Or maybe you just love travel adventures. Either way, we share our personal, sometimes juicy, sexy stories as well as swingers club and event reviews, interviews with other sassy people, and of course our global swinging adventures. We try to bring you a look into the diverse lifestyle that the swinging and non-monogamous community has. We hope you enjoy. Now let's get into the episode. Like the G'day guys and welcome to episode 160. Today's episode is all about the Oasis Aqualounge, which is a club.
Oasis Aqualounge.
Yeah, it's a club based in Toronto in Canada.
Might surprise you a little to understand that it is a water lounge area.
Yeah. So we went there after our trip to hedonism and we're finally getting around to talking about it. So we're going to talk about the club. We're going to talk about me being a little bit triggered. We're also going to give you guys a cautionary tale about butt plugs. But first, Daryl, cultural tidbit for Toronto.
Oh my God, I am so excited to hear about the Toronto cultural tidbit.
Did you just sploosh on your chair a little bit?
Absolutely not.
Can you pretend you did?
Yeah, sploosh.
Can you give us a fake orgasm?
No.
Okay, cool.
I don't fake orgasms for no one.
So, Toronto. As of 1991, it is legal for women to be topless in Ontario. After a college student was fined for taking her shirt off on a hot day and challenged with a $75 ticket, it was determined that being shirtless is not an inherently sexual act and therefore does not fall under indecent exposure.
Whoa. Didn't see anyone topless though.
1991, they've chosen to free the nipple in Ontario.
I didn't see anyone
Topless.
freeing their nipple.
It was also a little bit cold while we're there, to be fair.
Yeah, but I mean, nipples are at their happiest in cold weather. You can tell that by the way they stand to attention.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, though? The fact that the country or that area has gone, you know what? Nipples aren't inherently sexual.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like saying duh.
Okay.
Is that what I should be saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Feel like nipples aren't inherently sexual?
Cautionary tale about butt plugs. So before we get into our little story about butt plugs and us fucking recently with one, I put a Twitter poll up and I said, curious minds want to know, have you ever simulated double penetration by using a butt plug and vaginal penetration?
Yeah, I've put a poll up a couple of times as well, just quietly.
And here is the responses. 79.8%, so I'm just going to call that 80%. 80% of people said yes, they have. Does that surprise you?
Yes.
Me too. What would you think it was going to be?
I would have thought it would be much less than that.
What would you have estimated?
Like 20.
20?
Tops.
Wow, I was going like 40, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's double 20.
Yeah, it is. I didn't even have to kick a shoe off. We had a bunch of people write in the comments, but one stood out for me because of our cautionary tale. So here we go. This is from NC Fun Couple 7478.
You see, now that's definitely a Twitter handle.
That is a Twitter handle. And they said, we actually use a dildo instead of a plug. There is too much movement and this could cause a plug to disappear unless it has a very large base. But that large base then can also get in the way of things.
Sounds like a thing. Feel like they could have given the cautionary tale to us a lot fucking earlier.
Since you were the fucker instead of the fucky,
Yeah.
do you want to give everybody an understanding of us fucking recently? And I mean, I'm sure it was absolutely delightful and you had a jolly good time, but
I had a whale of a time.
Can you tell everybody what happened?
We were having sex with a butt. You had a butt plug in, and the butt plug, when you were coming close to orgasm, started to push out. It would have pushed all the way out had I have not have like touched it. But then when I touched it and you came, you sucked it in, basically to the point where I went whoa, and then reached down and stuck my thumbnail under it to pull it back out.
Lightning reflexes.
Yeah, I mean, well, I was actually just thinking of the bill.
Yeah.
There wouldn't have been a bill because, you know, we live in a country with free healthcare, but it still would have been hard to explain.
Yeah.
Well, not really, actually. An x-ray would have explained it really fucking quickly.
We actually have a lot of butt plugs in the shipping container that's still based in Singapore. Long story. But in that shipping container, we actually have some silicon-based butt plugs. I normally choose to use them over stainless steel ones because there's more flexibility, there's more, you know, it kind of moves around. I think the stainless steel one, it doesn't move around as much or there's less flexibility there. Anyway, so Daryl's fucking me, the butt plug, I come, and I guess muscles and things contract
contractions and weird girl shit going on.
Right. So all I hear is something to the effect of like, holy fuck or shit or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That was you going into panic mode. And what went through my mind was this is how I'm going to spend my day now in hospital getting a butt plug removed.
Yeah. Or sitting downstairs on the toilet squeezing.
So my cautionary tale is that even though a butt plug has a base,
yeah,
sometimes,
yep,
especially those pretty jeweled stainless steel ones I find don't have as big of a base, whereas some of the other plastic ones, not plastic ones, some of the other silicone ones with like the larger base, or for example, my vibrating one has quite a large base across it.
Yeah, but it's meant to be worn for a much longer period. That's the thing with this stainless steel version. It's not exactly a long period expectation for wearing.
Yeah, exactly. So my cautionary tale, lessons learned here. I don't even think it's a lessons learned. I'm still going to fuck with the butt plug in.
Yeah, but maybe a different.
Maybe a different one.
Maybe a different.
We need to look for some more.
Yeah, because the 40 you have is not enough now. Between the things that have been given to you and the things that we've bought ourselves and the things you bought for me, which I never fucking use, there is a mountain of stuffs that we never use.
What's your point?
We're likely in the vein of Daryl culling shit constantly to make sure we don't end up like slumlords.
Mm-hmm.
There's likely going to be some go in the bin at some point in the not too distant future.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Because there's, either that or donated to our friends who are happy enough to use, freshly clean toys, because there's a lot of fucking money there.
There is. Yeah. Call 1-800-KATE sends you one of our used sex toys.
Or we could just fucking sell them because there'd be dudes out there everywhere wanting.
That's what I'm saying. Call
sex
1-800.
toys.
I can clean them or I can't. It's up to you guys. Shall we talk about Oasis Aqualounge?
I mean, if we must.
Right. So we go to Toronto. We stay in the middle of the city in quite a lush hotel, I might say. Like, we don't tend to overly splurge in hotels. Normally when we're traveling, we might have one nice hotel fare.
Out of a 2 or 3 week period, yes.
Yeah. And this was kind of our splurge hotel, but unbeknownst to me, that also upgraded us.
Yeah, but it was a pretty nice hotel to start with.
It was a nice hotel.
They fucking jacked it up.
And then they jacked it up.
Woo.
Yeah, and then I was like, man. But it was really, really close. So the club itself is only a short drive from the middle of Toronto is kind of where I'm getting to. So it's quite convenient. Some clubs around the world are in industrial areas because they have to be licensing-wise. They're a bit further out than the city. And the fact that this one is quite close to Toronto, it was a couple of minutes drive, cheap in an Uber.
Yeah, it was
easy to get to.
In the right spot.
Yeah.
Correct.
So if you guys want to check the club out, I will obviously put their website in the show notes today, but a bit about them. They open 7 days a week, by the way, and single men are permitted 5 days out of the 7.
That's a lot of semen time.
That's a lot of days, right? That's pretty. I don't think I've actually seen a club around the world that operates 7 days a week. That's pretty rare. Normally they would have maybe Thursday through Sunday or Thursday through Monday. I don't know. Yep. That's rare. So they're open 7 days a week. Single men are permitted 5 days out of the 7. We went on a Sunday. Yep. Entry for the couples is 100 Canadian dollars, so that's about $74 US.
100 Canadian rubles.
100 Canadian rubles. 100 Canadian maple leaves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that'll do.
So we arrive to the club. We see the security guard, right? He's standing at the front. He lets you into kind of a waiting area.
Yep.
To be talked to by the receptionist before you make the payment, and then allowed in the main area of the club. So there's a little area. The receptionist provides you with access to the club. Obviously, you have to pay. You do the whole thing. There's a coat rack there, thank God, because, Canada is a little bit cold. Give you a quick introduction to the club. She touches on consent a little bit.
I'm actually just concerned with the amount of emphasis you put on all the weird things going in, whether you listen to that at all.
A little bit.
You sure? Because it sounded like it was really concerning.
Well, I did miss a part later that I'll talk about. But
Okay.
She talked about how the club is inclusive.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a little second. So after the entrance, there is a wall with coloured wristbands. Do you remember that?
Yes, absolutely. Red, yellow, and green, if I remember.
Oh, I think there was like 6 too. There was like 6 or
there was
more.
Blue as well. Yeah, there was more than one.
Yeah.
There was more than one.
What are the purpose of the wristbands?
The wristbands are to define what you're into. So if you're there just to hang out and so I think from memory it went from I'm here to swim and stay and get warm and enjoy the night, or we're here, depending on single or couple, of course, and all the way through, and the colours change to, where we might be interested. We're interested to meet people, and then we're DTF, is the top end one, which is kind of standard, or kind of standard in terms of the top end one. So that's what was there.
How do you feel about these wristbands? And the second part to that is, did you see anybody wearing them?
People were wearing them, yes. I think the wristbands, if you're going to be serious about the wristbands, you've got to kind of issue them at the front.
Right.
But they're silicone wristbands. I think they're too expensive for the job, given that people could only be there for one night, right? So I would say that a waterproof paper ones would be a better option, because people are going to throw them away immediately as soon as they get home. They're not going to leave them behind.
That's true, because I put one on and I did throw it away.
Yeah, well, of course you did, because nobody stockpiles silicone wristbands with swinging names written all over them. Yeah. It's not a thing. Well, maybe it is a thing. You could probably use them as a cock ring if your cock was big enough,
or a hair tie or whatever.
Unfortunately, my cock's not big enough.
Well, fortunately for me, thank you very much.
Yeah, fortunately for everyone.
So you think they're a good idea? How many people did you think you saw wearing them?
Probably 40%.
Okay.
Yeah, so a majority of which were single men in terms of the people who were wearing them. And surprisingly, this was a bit of a shock to me, not all of the single men who were wearing them had a DTF one on, which was surprising. Well,
it could be a good way to stand out. Like if you had one that said, yes, I will have sex, because I think there was one that was like, look, I'm a social swinger, meaning that I want a connection before I fuck, rather than just I'm here to fuck. Well, I'm here to fuck. Maybe as a single guy, that actually might be quite a standout, because people are like, oh, he may want to have sex, but he's not just like, here to fuck. He's not a fuck guy. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I wish that I never hear that. Whatever that needs to never happen again.
So as I mentioned, when we checked in, the receptionist told us that the club is inclusive. Here comes story time. So we just come off the back of being in hedonism for a week.
Dumbass time, not story time.
Here comes the story. So we've been at hedonism for a week. Add on top of that the fact that the clubs here in the Netherlands are all inclusive, meaning that when you pay your entrance fee, food and drinks are completely included in the price. Daryl hears the club is inclusive, because that's all she said. She didn't really go further on with it. And he's like, great, babe, why don't you line up at the bar? I'm going to go put all of our crap in the locker room on level 2. I'll take the coats, I'll take the bag, I'll take all the stuff. You line up, get yourself a drink. What happened, Daryl?
Well, you lined up to get a drink, and then I went upstairs and dropped everything off into the place. And then when I came back, you said, you got to pay for the drinks.
And your response was, no, it's inclusive.
Yeah, well, I said it was fucking inclusive. That's how it should be.
Well, what did inclusive mean, in fact?
It means the most obvious thing ever for any club of this type, is that it's fucking inclusive of any sexual orientation, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Well, duh.
Yeah.
I mean, duh.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying duh. Right?
So you had to go back upstairs, get the wallet, come back down.
Yeah, that whole fucking one story that I had to walk up, it was diabolical.
It was pretty funny though, because at the beginning when you said, I'll go up and you get the drink, and I said, no, we need a wallet, and your response was, no, it's inclusive.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think that's what she meant, but cool.
Yeah, I mean, nobody was fucking arguing with me though, were they?
I did say I don't think that's what she meant, and you were like, no.
You didn't argue.
I didn't argue.
Yeah, that's not what she meant. That's not an argument. That's just you saying it's not what she meant.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what did she mean, Kate? Perhaps next time tell me that.
What she meant was the club is inclusive in nature and we accept everybody.
Yeah.
Well, so don't be a dick.
Fucking duh.
Don't be a dick and also pay for your drinks, you cheap motherfucker.
I'm not a cheap motherfucker. I'm just talking about the fact that do you really need to say that out loud?
Well, you shouldn't need to, but it is one of, I guess, the Oasis Aqualounge really do make efforts to talk about diversity and trans and everything like that. So they actually go out of their way to talk about those things in their marketing. And so I think that's why part of the entrance is we are an inclusive club.
So what you're saying is my brain is too inclusive.
Your brain is too inclusive, yeah.
Got it.
A little bit about Oasis Aqualounge. It is 3 levels. As the name alludes to, it is very much based on waterbound activities. So 3 levels.
That doesn't mean play for though. Well, maybe it does. It is very inclusive.
Yeah.
Fucking inclusive.
So you do you, no kink shaming here. The ground floor is the entrance, the bar, the dance floor, the hot tub area, and access to the pool area.
Yeah. I'm going to say the pool's kind of below ground though, right?
Generally speaking.
It's a below ground pool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're called.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
So there's actually a below ground.
Do you feel you need to make up for being right because you were so wrong with the inclusive drink now?
Yes.
Cool.
And I'm there.
So second floor is the lockers, the bathrooms, the play spaces, and the BDSM room. Now this is where we spotted something really, really different, interesting. What are your thoughts?
Interesting. Yeah, it was interesting. So in the BDSM room, actually in all of the rooms, it wasn't just the BDSM room, by the way, but in all of the rooms, they have a little card that's on the beds or play areas, whatever those are, right? Because BDSM room doesn't necessarily mean a bed. And they were hanging if it was a cross, for example, they had them hanging on string as well.
Yeah, that's true. They weren't just on flat surfaces.
Yeah, they were. So they have a clean side and a dirty side. So one side says clean, one side says dirty. So if you've used the area, rather than them having to guess whether it's been cleaned or whether it hasn't been cleaned, they can do that. They can just see it. You just turn it over and biff baff boff. You've got yourself a
clean space,
clean or dirty space that's going to get cleaned.
Well, it's good. It's good for the staff because, as you said, they know. Oh, I got to go in and clean that piece of equipment. Equally good for the patrons because they're like, oh, that's not clean. I'm going to go somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have we seen that before?
No.
I don't recall it. I think this is the first time I've seen something like that.
I feel like it makes life a lot easier for the cleaning staff.
Makes life easier for everybody.
Yeah, but mostly the cleaning staff.
But mostly the staff, yeah.
Because otherwise you really don't know. You end up just cleaning shit that's already fucking clean unless it is literal shit, and then you'd know because somebody shat on the bed.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah. But because we're inclusive, you're allowed to do that. That's not true. You're not allowed to do that.
Don't do that. You know, on the dishwashers, sometimes they've got those like little magnets where it's like turn it clean, turn it upside down, it's unclean. Like, obviously that's something in daily life that a lot of people have, but for some reason it hasn't translated to a swingers club, and I think it's brilliant. Do you think that they also clean the swinger cards every time, the little clean, unclean cards every time they clean the equipment?
Well, they are plastic coated, so I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, me too.
Because that would make sense.
How unclean or clean is the card that goes on top?
Because it would be effing stupid to not do that.
How do they know that they've got to clean that card?
That's like, you should always clean the door handle on your toilet.
True.
Door handles are pretty grubby.
Yeah. So that was the second floor. The top floor had more play areas. It had a little stage/seminar room.
Yeah.
It had a group room. It had a room with a car in it, the bonnet of the boot, so the boot of a car.
Trunk.
The trunk of a car, right? It had that little area.
Helping out where I can. Very inclusive of language here.
You're inclusive of language.
Yep.
I know you're taking the piss, but just for the audience listening, whilst he's taking the piss, he's also not taking the piss.
What?
In other words, like you're not making a joke out of being inclusive.
No, I actually think so. The reason that my brain didn't compute that is because I think it's how it all should be.
Yeah.
I think whatever you identify as, whatever you wish to do that's within both legal and ethical boundaries should be...
Fill your boots.
Yeah, you should be able to do it.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, the club defines that as not as their area not being a place you can do that. You know, like you have to wear shoes
like
and
scat play or like
shirts
water
to go
play.
Into, I don't know, supermarkets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, as long as it's within the boundaries of what the club identifies as most appropriate for their facility, then I think it should be fill your boots. Go nuts.
So like I said, while you're taking the piss out of inclusive,
Oh yeah, and I'll continue to do that for the rest of the thing. But I mean,
just disclaimer.
Yeah, if you feel that I'm not inclusive, please send an email to Kate because I am. And you'll notice there was no but.
There was no but.
Yeah, because everything that you say before a but is a lie.
Yeah, I'm not this, but well,
everything before is a lie.
Yeah, true, true. You don't need to justify. So there was also another small bar area with some seating that wasn't being used at the time as well, which I thought was a great little space. And I'm curious if the club gets busier, whether they open that other little bar area on level 3.
Yes, they said it was closed on that night on purpose. They told us in the briefing. They did.
My level of attention there.
Yeah, they told us in the briefing that it was that it was closed tonight because they didn't expect the requirement to actually need the extra bartender because they run the bar up there as well.
Yeah, which is great as well because then you've got that ability, I think, if you're up on level 3, not to have to go back down to the ground level. And, you know, I'm also curious whether they lease out the top level to events because that in itself would just be perfect. You know, you've got everything up there for like an event to just take over the top level. That would be really curious.
Why wouldn't you just take over the whole place? So, I mean, coming back to the sort of the descriptor, you've given a bit of a rundown on where things are, but it's not very big. Except the outdoor area. The outdoor area is quite big, but the inside area is not very big.
Yeah. Well, because it is so focused, I think, on that pool area. It operates year-round, by the way.
Yeah, the pool was fucking toasty warm.
What would you say,
nice.
how many people could fit in this club in your mind before it becomes ridiculous?
Before it becomes ridiculous?
Yeah.
I would say probably around 200.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, even at 200, it may be ridiculous, but I think 200 would be all right.
And who goes there in terms of the clientele? I would say very diverse in terms of sexuality.
Single male, single female, so that
there's trans people there.
Yeah, it was very open.
I think it's because they are really forward with that inclusivity, and you see that even in the staff members, right? So the clientele is the same, and I think that there's a lot of diversity there as well in that space. So I think they're obviously pushing that for a reason, and they're getting the people in that are going to back that
because they're humans.
What would you say the average age was? I'm going about 45.
No, fuck no.
Yeah, so, okay. What do you think there was an average age of, say, let's say, average age of couples, average age of single men? What are your thoughts? Is there a difference between the two?
Actually, I don't think there was. I think the average age of couples was, and single guys was about the same.
Which was?
Late 30s.
Late 30s.
Average.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, 40. You're saying 40s. That's no way. I mean, you're talking top end there. I don't think there was hardly anyone in their 40s.
Really?
Yeah. You know, when there's a big group in their 20s, what it does is brings the average down. Yeah.
What I will say is that I think in terms of size of people there, I think there was probably more diverse range of sizing. And what I mean from that is body shape and size than perhaps what we see in some of the clubs here in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I mean, yes, and also more diverse because the Netherlands is what it is, but it's inherently very white. There is a lot of white people here.
Yeah.
That's not on purpose. It's just, it's the white part of Europe. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, so yeah, that's not really a surprise. It's not really terribly diverse in clubs because it's not diverse in the street.
Yeah. So yeah. I would say that I probably saw more, depending on how you identify. Again, if you're identifying as a BBW, I probably saw more BBWs at this club than I think I've seen at other clubs that we've been to lately. I mean, it's not something we haven't seen ever before, but I definitely think that body shape there, they also had a larger range of women, including BBWs going to the club. And I'm curious whether or not that's just because we were there at a single male night, because a lot of those women were also single. So I don't know whether, you know, maybe that skews that, and so more women come out for those kind of Hotwife or just, you know, single ladies going into the club for single men. I don't know whether that may be skewing some of this.
Could be.
But definitely for me, that's kind of the people that I saw there.
Yeah, and that's a fair statement.
Okay, cool.
I would agree with that.
Yay.
I don't agree with anything else you've said to this point. Just that.
You're wrong, Kate. So when we got there, a little bit about what we did on the night. So we've kind of run through the club as it sits. Mm-hmm. What we did on the night, we grabbed a drink, obviously, as I said before. We had to pay for said drink. We started a bar tab because that's what you do when you go into a club that doesn't...
That isn't inclusive.
That is inclusive.
That isn't all-inclusive.
We took on ourselves on a little tour around the club to see what's what, because I'd never been there before. Yeah. And we headed up to the third floor.
The third floor?
We headed up to the third floor. We ran into Fatima, who actually runs the social media aspect of the club, which is quite cool.
Yeah. She was lovely to chat to.
She disappeared later because I think she was also...
Oh, so she disappeared because we got talking to the other guys there as well, and she did probably what most owners, operators, employees do. They kind of fade out when they see things are going well with someone else because, you know, they're there to chat initially, and yeah, we just happened to run into her, which is pretty cool. They had no idea we were going to be there, right? That was...
We mentioned we might be there, but we hadn't clarified because we didn't know how tired we were going to be off the back of Hedo.
We were fucking tired.
Yeah, we were tired.
We were fucking tired. We left there like early.
And she was also not supposed to be there because she was supposed to be doing something else.
Yeah, she was doing something else. Anyway.
So we ran into her and it was really lovely. We also ran into a lady called the Toronto Unicorn.
Yes.
So we chatted to her for a bit. We then ended up going outside and we were interviewed.
She recognised us from our voices, from Australia, from our accent.
So we were talking to Fatima and the Toronto Unicorn turned around and she said something to the effect of like, wait a second.
I don't
mean to be weird, but you guys, Kate and Daryl.
Yes.
And I think, is that the first time we've ever been...
I think so. It's the first time we've ever been identified. I think so. I think so.
I think she took our virginity.
our identification virginity?
I think she might have.
She might have.
Because normally if we're going to somewhere or somebody recognizes us, it's because they know we're going to be there. Like,
sounds like something I think she'd be okay with as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Toronto Unicorn took our virginity. She also invited us out to be interviewed on her YouTube channels.
Yeah, so we wanted out as in outside, because obviously you can't film inside.
How was that for you, being recognised and then being asked to come outside and film?
I thought it was. I mean, it was fine. I'm not going to say it was. It was strange, given that I don't normally have people identify me as I'm walking down the fucking street or in a club. So it was a bit weird in that regard, but it was nice.
She's on the ball though, so she does little short YouTube videos. And when she was filming us, she had a little light on her camera, and we went outside, and just obviously quite compact. She definitely had her shit together. She had her shit together, but then she said, this will be live in like 2 days. And I remember looking at her and thinking, fucking what? Because normally if we do YouTube, it takes me like a week.
But, I mean, you fuck about though.
Anyway, if you want to go and check out that video out the front of Oasis Aqualounge, where we're getting interviewed by the Toronto Unicorn, I'll put the link in the show notes.
Yep.
So we head back inside and we start chatting to her friend, who's identified as R on the YouTube channel. So because she's featured in a lot of the Toronto Unicorn YouTube channel. So I'm just going to call her R as well.
Yeah. And I think I think the line was R was new to all of this when they first met or something.
That's
and
right.
She's kind of working her way through everything.
Yeah.
And that's part of the conversation piece that they have for the for the YouTube channel as well.
You might want to give her a shout out, because she actually recently wrote on one of our podcasts on YouTube that she loves the sound of your voice. She actually wrote on there and she said, I can't wait to hear the talk about Oasis. And by the way, I love Daryl's voice, or something to the effect of like that. So there you go.
Well, there you go, So it was lovely to meet you. That's the best voice I can do.
That's the best voice you can do.
Yeah, it's the best voice I've got.
Say something slutty to her off the top of your head. Can you do that?
Do you like the taste of the tip of my cock?
Rightio, there you go.
Did that work?
That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, we're on a spot now. Go.
I got nothing.
Yeah,
Don't put me
come on, let's go.
No.
I'm going to sit here in silence until you give me a slutty.
I said something really awesome, but we had to remove it from the episode because it was so explicit. I lie. So we're talking to R for a little bit, and as you said, she's kind of new.
No, she's not very new anymore.
Not very new, but
as in new to the lifestyle.
She's excited and interested and wants to learn.
Yeah, but it has been learning a lot. That's, part of what she's been doing, which was pretty cool, I think. Anyway.
So she was talking to us about travel and clubs and threesomes, and then she started talking to you a lot about hotwifing. Do you remember that conversation?
I do. Not a whole lot of detail. It is a while ago now, but yes, I do.
Yeah, so I remember she was talking to us about what is a hotwife, Daryl, why do you like it?
Yeah, she was asking me about what it does for me, what I'm into, why I'm into it. Yeah, it was.
When somebody asks you those kinds of questions and pays more, I would say more attention to you than me, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that she was really interested in the psychology from your perspective. Does that make you feel nice when somebody is so interested in the Daryl, why, how, etc.?
I mean, it always feels pretty nice to have people interested in what you're talking about. That's definitely the case. So, yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought about it like that, honestly. But yes, it's something that always makes me feel good about. Everyone likes to feel like they can help people or, offer a point of view that maybe they don't have or whatever it is. Yeah.
When we're having this conversation, what I will say is that I felt extremely overdressed. R was standing there in a towel.
Yeah, everyone was fucking naked.
Toronto was in a towel. And then across from us, there was people fucking in the orgy beds. Behind us, there's a group fucking and using a fuck machine. In the next room where the car room was, is a girl with a single guy in there called the jackhammer fucking there. And we're standing near the balcony. You're in a suit. I'm in a dress.
Yes.
Having a conversation. And I remember looking around and thinking, this is a little bit odd for us.
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons there. The first one is they were the only going out clothes we had for the trip, right? Because they'd kind of been set up for a different event.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it was a little strange, but it was fucking hot. I was hot.
Yeah, that had
not in the in the good way. It's just fucking warm in here.
Yeah.
But it's not really a surprise. It's a fucking aqualounge.
We'd also only just gotten there and did the tour, had a drink, and at this point in time we're talking to people. So it's not like the evening had progressed and it was like whatever time and we just hadn't dressed down. So it was just particularly strange. I don't know how how I would have felt if there was maybe a mandatory dress down in that club.
Yes. I mean, I don't know what to say.
So after this, we go downstairs, we get another drink, and we decide we're going to head into the pool because, it's a heated pool, which I was dubious about, by the way. I was bloody dubious about this whole heated pool because it was quite cold. It wasn't like right now in Canada where there's 8 foot of snow and people are in minus 40-degree temperatures, but it was pretty cold when we were there.
Yes, it was fucking cold.
Did you think the pool was going to be actually as hot as it?
You mean as nice and toasty warm?
Yeah.
No, fuck no. I mean, it's fucking freezing outside.
I don't know what it is, but I'm always, when people say they've got a heated anything, I'm always like,
that's
do
because
you?
you're used to heated pools in Australia, which are dubiously heated at best, right? Because, I mean, who needs a fucking heated pool to that level in Australia? So.
No one. Here's a question, just thinking about that whole dress down thing before we get into the pool. How many people, this probably goes to why I felt so out of place wearing clothes, what percentage of people do you think were in clothing?
Oh, actually clothed versus wearing a towel, etc.? Mm-hmm. Not many. 10%.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at best.
Because normally when you go into a swingers club, you've got the mingle area and the lounge area and the bar area.
Yeah.
And I would say 80% of people in those spaces are probably clothed or in lingerie, maybe. But here, I would say it was like 80 to 90% of people were either naked or in a towel, and then there was a few people in clothing and lingerie. So it was kind of it flipped it on its head because that's the purpose of this place. It's an aqualounge, So I think that was just something new and different, and I hadn't really thought about that.
Yep.
Anyway, so the pool was surprisingly warm. We get in, we chat to a few people. There was a few couples there that we're chatting
it's
to.
a big fucking surprise that they had their pool sorted, it's not at all. It's not a surprise. The name is Aqualounge. They're in fucking Canada. They have their pool shit
They're
sorted,
open 365 days a year, 7 days a week, yeah?
Yeah, they have their pool sorted.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. What was the pool like for you in terms of looking around, seeing people talking, naked bodies, dicks floating, boobs floating, like coming off the back of hedonism too, where the pool there, quite frankly, gets out of control.
Yeah.
And then going into this pool, which is more like chill and there's some music playing in the background and people are talking and laughing and having a good time. Like it was less...
There were just less people in the pool for starters. It was a pool that was...
It was a pool meant for mingling, whereas I think the pool at Hedo...
Is made for partying.
Is made for partying.
Yeah.
So what was your thoughts? Did you think it was sexy, relaxing? Did you enjoy it?
It was warm. I mean, that's the best I can put to it. There weren't a lot of people in there, and you'll get to it in a minute, I'm sure, but most of the people that were in there were single guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just wasn't a lot of people, so it's hard to do anything other than that, I suppose.
There were a few couples that were in the pool at that point in time because we sort of were introducing ourselves at the beginning. They left, and then it was kind of us. And there was a moment there where there was, I think, about 5-ish guys standing around us. Is that accurate? Is that
about
5?
5 single guys? Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a couple of single men that were actually engaging with us and talking to us. There was one guy who was, I would call him unduly intoxicated. He was pretty drunk. I think he had a crack in his head from falling over.
He wasn't unduly intoxicated, and he didn't have the crack in his head until after we got out of the pool because he hit his head on the pool.
So you don't think he was too drunk at that point?
He wasn't unduly intoxicated, which means he is potentially a danger to himself or other people.
Right.
So, no, I would say he was intoxicated. Yes, he was definitely intoxicated. Possibly a little too drunk to be in that place at that time.
Space.
But he wasn't unduly intoxicated. He wasn't dangerous. He wasn't, angry, fighting. He wasn't any of those things.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. We decided to get out of the pool. Now, we were talking to a single guy there, a Canadian young single guy, and we're talking to him for a little bit, and we're like, okay, we're going to get a drink, and then we're going to go upstairs to level 3. Now, he said, can I come with you? And I'm going to talk a little bit about this soon because I was very confused. I didn't realize what that meant.
Yep.
But he said, hey, we're going to go upstairs. We're going to get a drink. We're going to go upstairs. Really, I think I don't know about you, but I was actively shaking off 4 of the 5 guys because I didn't really want them to carry on conversation with us.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, can I come with you? And I was like, yeah, of course, it's fine. I'll tell you about what that meant later. And then we went upstairs. We chatted to 2 girls upstairs who were dancing and having a really good time a bit before we kind of left the club.
They were very full of energy.
Fuck, they were full of energy.
And they were bopping around everywhere. Super full of energy.
My energy bar was really depleted.
Yeah, we were toward the end of our energy level because of, just being away for so long. And then, we hadn't really even managed to decompress properly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you got these 2 people who were like buzzing around, talking at a million miles an hour, dancing and having a good time. And I was like, whoa, this is, you're at a 10 and I'm at a 2.
Yep. They were full on. Full on, not full on negative way either, by the way. They were really, really enjoying themselves.
Now, in terms of cons, I would say for me, the small Mingle area was less than ideal. But what I understand the fact that the venue itself is comprised of the pool and mingling, not really somewhere that you would go really and talk and dance, right? Because most of the talking and everything is done in the pool. So the small Mingle area, I'd say, is a con for the club, but knowing full well that most of the people mingle outside. Like, obviously now being
most
to the
people
club,
mingle in the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise. I mean, something that's called the Aqualounge, it's almost like people would go there to hang out at the pool.
Exactly.
It's crazy. Fucking crazy talk.
I think most clubs around the world kind of have their tempo, right? Like depending on the club, they have a tempo in terms of like the time people start to move to the playrooms, when's dance, when's this and that. Like, would you agree that most clubs kind of have a tempo or a vibe?
Yeah.
And obviously, being the first time to this club, a lessons learned for me was that's the tempo of this club. You don't mingle in that area. You come in, you get a drink, you strip off and you go to the pool.
Yes.
So that was something that was a little bit new. What I would say is that the people that were wearing the clothes and certainly the men that were coming in, I was disappointed in their dress and attire.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't yes, agreed. They were coming in very averagely dressed, but that was because they were taking that off to go swim.
Yeah, so I was watching the guys come through the door when we were at the bar area and just like oversized hoodie and joggers and like, scrubby jeans and stuff like that. And initially I was like...
Scruffy, you mean?
Scruffy. Initially I was like, what the fuck, guys? Like, this is a club, best foot forward. You're a single guy.
Step up, motherfuckers.
Step it up. But again... The tempo of the club is, well, they're going to get in there for 5 minutes and take those off anyway. So in their minds, they're like, why would I bother?
Why would I bother? The reason you would bother, gentlemen,
first impressions
is
last.
because people will see you.
Yeah.
That's the reason you would bother.
Yeah.
It's fairly simply put.
The other con, I think, for me is, and, I'm happy to be proved wrong, I did go on the website and have a look for this information. I looked in the frequently asked questions, etc. I don't think they have a cap for the men. Maybe this comes down to the fact that it's an inclusive club. I'm not sure, but what I saw was I don't think the men were capped. And what I mean by that is that normally in lifestyle clubs, if they do allow single men, they may have a ratio of couples and single ladies to single men, just so the club isn't, 90% single men and then 2 couples kind of sitting in a corner. For me, it didn't feel like the single men were capped. And again, I think it might be due to the inclusive nature of the club, but to me, it felt like maybe there was 3 single men to every couple or single lady. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say the same. So it was a high ratio of men for sure versus couples or versus others. The big issue there though I don't think was the ratio difference. Especially later in the night, it was guys that were coming in that I think were looking to finish their night after being out drinking or doing something else. Right? I think there was something to be said for the style of people who were coming in later in the evening as well.
That's true, because there were that group of 3 single guys that come in together that had been out drinking.
Yeah, so but being fair here as well, it's not... So I think it's very important to say that at no point was there any risk to you or me while we were there.
Yeah.
But there were certainly a lot more single men than we'd been used to in the past.
Correct, and that's exactly what I was going to say. It's not something that we've seen somewhere else. So... in terms of comfort levels, it was just different. And, maybe that's just the way, again, the tempo of the club there, and that's just normal and average, and maybe why people might choose to go on the 2 days that they don't allow single men. So
yeah, well, I mean, and also the night they allow single men, I mean, you're there to meet single men, right?
Exactly, which is why we actually went there in the first place. We actually went there because we were like, hey, let's go fuck a single man.
We've not done a single man night.
In a while.
Defined single man night in a very long time.
Yeah, so that was the reason. So we were like, hey, let's go to the club specifically to find a single male to fuck. Like, that was the entire reason that we were there.
Yep. Didn't achieve it. Actually ended up leaving. So final verdict, if we talk about, I'm going to wrap the club review up now. I am going to talk about something that left me quite triggered in a second. But to wrap up the club review, in terms of black rings out of 5, initially we were going to give this club a 3 out of 5. I've upped it a little bit to a 3.5 out of 5, and that additional half a point really is just for the hygienic mentality of the club. Yeah, and 3.5, fine.
So I'm giving it a 3.5 black rings out of 5. That's my, review of the Oasis Aqualounge. Quite a good club. If you're in Toronto City,
go check it out.
Definitely, for sure. Right, now we are going to talk a little bit about something that triggered me on the evening. I don't know. I feel like maybe I should give a disclaimer, a bit of a potential trigger warning here. I'm not too sure. I'm going to talk a little bit about sexual assault. So if you guys want to shut it off now, feel free to do so. It's only a very small piece of the story, but just feel like it's the right thing to do to talk to you guys about that. So feel free to shut it off. Otherwise, continue listening. So for reference, I do have a history of sexual assault. I've kind of mentioned that here and there on the show before, but just for your awareness, if you weren't aware, I do have a history of sexual assault. So that sometimes does impact, I guess, the way that I think or the way that I feel or how safe that I feel, these sorts of things, right?
The way you see the world.
The way that I see the world.
It affects many things about your life because that's what happens.
Right. Now, a big reason for us leaving the club, and obviously we mentioned before the energy levels is definitely a massive part of this, but a reason for us leaving the club and not moving forward to play had to do with me feeling extremely triggered. Now, this is not something in the history, I think, of us in the Swingers lifestyle. Has this happened before? I can't recall the time.
No, it hasn't.
Right. So we ended up leaving because I felt extremely triggered. I still have zero idea how it happened or why it happened. So whilst the men on site, as we mentioned before, were plentiful, there was 3 guys to every couple of single lady there. None of them touched me without consent. None of them really tried to make me feel too uncomfortable. So this is not a case of men being extremely grabby and that's what triggered me. That's nothing to do with this at all. I don't know what it was, but I felt just triggered. And I felt at the moment like this.
You felt unsafe.
Yeah, like something could happen.
Yes.
Now, there was a moment when I was walking to the bathroom. You were still in the locker area, so I was on my own.
Yeah.
Now, these are unisex bathrooms, so they're kind of open bathrooms.
Which you've been in before in other places.
Which restaurants have them. Like, I have no problems with a unisex bathroom at all. I don't think that's a place where some sort of sexual assault, is definitely going to happen. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that in the current state of mind, in the state of mind that I was on my way to the unisex bathroom. Now, on the way there was 3 guys kind of standing right outside of the bathrooms. One of them did catcall me.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he did catcall me.
So like the traditional whistle catcall?
And then was like something, so it said something sort of like the fucking sexy or damn girl or something like, like some dodgy comment. So there was, 3 guys right outside of the bathroom. And, as a single guy, if there's 3 single guys to every couple of single lady, like where are you going to position yourself around the club? Really? Like you've got to stand somewhere. Like I don't think that these people had necessary bad intentions. But were they standing right at the front of the bathrooms because people are going to walk by? Yeah, whatever. Yep. Cat called me. I walk into the bathrooms then, and inside the bathrooms, there's 2 men just sitting in the bathrooms chatting. No ladies were in a stall there, so it wasn't like they were waiting on their girlfriends or partners or anything like that. There was no other people. They were just literally sitting inside there just having a conversation, not next to each other. I had to walk between them to get into the toilets area.
Yeah.
That really made me feel really compromised. Being on my own in that space, feeling extremely triggered for whatever the fuck reason, and then walking into that where I had to physically walk between 2 men, I actually shrunk myself down to feel a little bit smaller because I was like, shit, this is a weird position to be in. Take the mindset that I was in at the time.
Yeah.
Perfectly normal scenario.
Yeah,
would have no
absolutely.
problems. Actually, if I had to walk into that right now, I'd be like, hey, gents, like, what are you up to?
If it were in a restaurant.
If it was in a club.
And I didn't have, in a club. Yeah.
I didn't have this mindset that I had at this moment, I would see zero problem with any of this. In fact, I'd probably take the piss out of them for sitting around having a conversation inside the toilets.
Yep.
But on this moment, I was worried.
Yep.
Later, I did also see a security guard escorting a single guy out of the building. So I think that was kind of like piling on. So I'm already getting a little bit triggered. This guy cat calls me. I walk into the bathroom. These 2 guys are there. And then I see a security guard escorting a single guy out of the building who had done something that somebody else deemed against their consent. And I think all of those things kind of combined just left me feeling a little bit uneasy.
Yep.
Now, what I will say is that men aren't allowed on level 3. This was my confusion. So when the guy in the pool was like, can I come with you? I thought it was just like a friendly chat to continue chatting. I unintentionally misled this guy by mistake.
Which I might add is that he was also not in any way part of the reason you felt triggered.
Not at all. I would have actually played with him. He was lovely.
In fact, just saying there was really, so other than the catcall, which is something that I think many women have dealt with, they shouldn't have to, let me be very clear on that. No woman should ever have to deal with a catcall. But other than that, the catcall is something most women have dealt with, and kind of just either shrug a shoulder or look back and say fuck you and keep walking, right? Because unfortunately you have to deal with it. But that's not something that would have triggered you normally.
No.
Not at all. Not even remotely. And in fact, we had a long conversation about this during and after, because I had no idea, couldn't figure out for the life of me why you felt triggered. And you felt triggered predominantly the most in the pool outside. There were 5 guys that were near us at the time. There were 2 or 3 that were talking to us. One you found interesting, which is the guy that ended up coming upstairs, which we misled because we didn't understand the rules of the 3rd floor. And there were 2 others, neither of which were either of us interested in, because they were either too drunk or just not interesting to us, right? And none of those, I mean, certainly some of the things they were doing in the pool were weird because they were obvious. So one of the guys was just standing there playing consistently, touching his cock.
Touching his cock, yeah.
But I have to say I've seen the same thing done at Desire and at Hedo. Men just have a struggle when their penis is out not to fucking touch it. It seems to be a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Even that, I couldn't. That doesn't explain it either. So I'm kind of, we're kind of at a loss here, and it doesn't have anything to do with the club. Let's be very clear on this.
Very clear.
Absolutely nothing to do with the club.
Oasis did nothing wrong. They had security there. They had enough staff there. Nobody touched me inappropriately.
I have higher faith in a club where I see them removing somebody for doing something that's considered inappropriate than I do in a club that I see things inappropriate that nobody gets removed.
Yeah, agreed.
So they did everything right. So it's not about the club. It's just about the things that were going on, I think, in your head at that time, because you did feel triggered. I don't know that either of us can really explain it.
I think you less so. So just to close out really, so with this guy, so we absolutely accidentally misled him. He asked if he could join us after leaving the pool. I said yes, thinking that we were going to carry on conversation. He was going to be just polite and ask, hey, can I come with you guys?
Which was lovely. I mean, it was actually, he was a very nice guy.
He was really, what he was asking really was, is there potential to play? Because that's what level 3 is. A single guy cannot go up to level 3 unless a couple or a single lady invites him.
Still not understanding what level 3 meant, even when we left him there. But we did leave him there in the company of 2 lovely ladies who
said he could stay.
Who were both very excited to spend time with him. So question then, did we really mislead him, given that he may have gotten to shag 2 ladies instead?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, no, you did. Not me. I wasn't involved in this.
Anyway, he was a gentleman. And
yes,
he took
absolutely.
It. When we said we're leaving, obviously he was a little bit disappointed because he was keen to play. But other than that, perfect gentleman. So just closing that off, after we left the club, we're in the taxi on the way home or to the hotel, and you started asking me questions. What's going on?
Yeah.
Why do you feel triggered? I don't understand. Those were the kind of 3 things that were coming from you. And to be a partner of someone who's had sexual assault in their history, it's difficult because you haven't been through it. You don't really understand it.
I can empathise. I can't sympathise.
Exactly. You were genuinely trying to understand, I think, from your perspective, so you could provide a solution, which means fixing the problem now and then 2, stopping it from happening in the future.
Actually, it's the second one. So you can't. I mean, I can't fix when you're triggered. You're triggered. There's nothing going to untrigger you.
You can comfort me.
I can comfort you. Yeah, but that's not fixing a problem.
Right.
That's comforting.
Right.
Because the problem remains when you're comforted.
Yeah.
It's more trying to understand. Well, what happened here, so that I can figure out how to prevent that from happening again. Yeah. And by the way, that may have been our fault as well. We may have done something that put us in a position that made you feel uncomfortable,
right?
Not the other people around us. So that's why I wanted to understand.
I think at the end of the day, there was nothing that anybody really did that made me feel this way. There was absolutely, I mean, the club was perfect. The club did not do a damn thing wrong that made me feel this way. I still don't quite understand why I felt this way. Or maybe it was just because I was tired coming off the back of Hito, we were traveling, whatever, and it just kind of put me in this really...
Well, we were already sort of down, right? I mean, we weren't... When we arrived there, honestly, we both arrived. When I arrived, we walked in and we're like...
Like, we wanted to be there, but it was a push.
Yeah, it was a push. It was definitely a push.
Yeah.
So we wanted to go because we wanted to see it and also not waste a night, but you know what I mean? Not.
We also wanted to maybe find a single guy. So it was all of these things, but equally, I think we were both like...
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
Yep.
The reason I'm telling you guys this is just to share a story and to maybe tell somebody out there listening that you're not alone. But really, it's just that I thought this might be helpful to people to kind of understand that if you're out there and you've had sexual assault happen, maybe you might be triggered. If you're a partner of somebody who's had some sexual assault happen, sometimes it's difficult being on the wing person for that because you don't know what to do. And the flip side of that is if you're somebody who's then dealing with somebody who's had sexual assault, obviously there's certain triggers and things that might happen there. But I don't know. I just wanted to share it. I don't really know why. Just thought it was an interesting thing that happened that's not happened in 7.5 years in our journey. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, interesting might might not be the right vernacular, but certainly it was. And again, there was nothing there that I could see. Hence why I was so questioning after we left, because I really wanted to understand what may have caused this problem so that we could not repeat it, because it's the first time it's happened.
Yeah.
I honestly think, looking at where we were, what was happening, I think in any other situation, if it was your first night out, you hadn't been drinking for a week, your mind was a little bit more on the ball. You weren't tired.
I would have been in like fucking Flynn, man. There was like three guys there that I found really attractive, that one guy in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it would have been a much different night had we been, and we plan to go back. So when we go back, we'll see how it goes next time around.
Yeah.
But I think it's an interesting, now I'm using your words. It's something
that's happened in our journey that hasn't happened before, and we wanted to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I will state loudly.
Please do.
Nothing to do with the club, nothing to do with their policies. They are very inclusive. They were lovely the entire time we were there.
Lots of staff. It's not like there was like barely any staff. They were everywhere.
Well staffed, well secured. There was nothing to do with that. It was just our night. It was just the night that would happen.
That happened, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be back. And, if there's anyone from Oasis listening, we enjoyed our night there, and we're really interested in getting back, and we will come back. And I hope we've been obvious enough in this conversation to make note that it wasn't anything to do with you guys, and you have a lovely club, and we look forward to coming back again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm going to leave you with a top towel tip, or what I'm calling the TTT.
You fucking stole this. You stole this.
I'm crediting her.
You're such a thieverer.
When we first started talking to the Toronto Unicorn, she was wearing a towel, like 98, like we said before, 80-90% of the people were. And she had, ladies, when you're doing your hair and stuff, you got the towel, you got it wrapped around you, and we attempt to do this little thing where we tuck a top bit of the towel in against our breasts in the hope that it secures the towel. And it fucking doesn't. Let's just all be fair. Like, that doesn't secure shit.
It's because boobies move around.
They move around. She was standing there talking to us, and she had the towel wrapped, folded over, and then she had a bulldog clip in the front of the towel fucking holding the whole situation together.
Yeah.
Like
genius.
Like the MacGyver of fucking swinger clubs.
It was genius. She actually she threatened to do a one with her logo on it so that she could
which I think is brilliant.
Fucking genius.
Sell that shit, make bank. So there you go. If you guys are going to even a resort or whatever.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
It's a fucking great idea. Bulldog clip down the front.
Yeah, you can even get plastic bulldog clips now as well, so you don't get any rust or anything. It's amazing. Genius. Fucking genius.
Top towel tip.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be sure that you will put that in there right beside your hair tie that you never take with you.
It needs to have the hair tie wrapped around the top of the bulldog clip, so then I take them both. Or forget them both, either one.
You will forget them both.
Hey, I need some Aussie names for our patrons. So we had a bunch of patrons join us in December.
Mm-hmm.
And are you ready to give them some Aussie names?
I'll do my best.
Okay, Justin.
Ooh, Justin. Ooh.
And don't be lazy and just add an O to everything.
To the end of it. No, but I think Justin it'd probably be Juzza. It'd be Juzza.
I think we'd probably take the piss, and I don't know, maybe this is not an Australian thing, but it could. No, I think it would be like just in. So we'd probably call him like
it'd be
the
Juzza.
tip or something.
No, it'd be Juzza.
Juzza. Okay, Juzza. Okay, we got Gene. Don't do Gino.
No, because Gino's a whole different another name. So then we'd change that. So his name would be our Italian friend or Pizza Boy, something like that. Pizza. It'd become Pizza. Because it'd be Gene, then they'd go Gino, then it'd be, that's Italian. Then we'd reference something Italian.
Mozzarella.
It'd be Mozza. There you go. His name would be Mozza or Pizza.
Katie.
Mozza. It'd be Mozza. Katie.
Mm-hmm.
It's Cat.
Yeah. That's not really an Aussie thing though, is it?
It's not, no. Sorry, Katie.
Katie's actually been talking a lot to me on Patreon, so I'm glad that she's there. Thank you. Let me see. William.
Dick.
Yeah, Dick. That's pretty, I think, global, that one as well.
Dickie. Actually, it'd be Dickie because it's Dickie Knee for those Australians. Actually, it'd probably become Dickie Knee.
Dickie Knee?
Yeah.
And then Chris.
I had a Chris even when I was growing up.
I know. I keep trying to think back to like Friends, and I'm like,
Yeah, the Chris that I had though was a redhead, so he
So he got called Ranger.
He became Blue.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, so, okay, I'm assuming this Chris is a redhead.
Oh yeah.
Name's Blue.
There you go.
Bam. Otherwise, your Australian name is Chris.
Justin, Jean, Katie, William, Chris, thank you very much for joining us over on Patreon.
That was a lackluster Australian naming.
It was a lackluster.
I have to say. Fucking hell.
Do better with your names, guys.
I feel like I'm letting the country down.
I know. Check out the show notes and you can find the link there. Coming up next, we are going to talk about our New Year's Eve, which started off with a bang and tantric tents and tantric massages. And we also did have permission to talk about our first Dutch play session in a very fancy boudoir.
We do.
So coming up next, check those out. But otherwise, thanks for hanging in there, guys, and really appreciate you listening.
Ciao.